Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast, and this is show number 249 for February the 24th, 2019.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my good friend Jayne Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jayne, my lovely.
Hello, my dear. How are we?
We are good. We had a nice weekend last weekend together.
We did indeed. Bit of glam, shall we say?
Absolutely. Little bit of comedy, we saw a sword swallowing act.
We did, yeah. And a bit of contortionism.
Oh, no. This guy literally fit his whole body through a tennis racket.
It was very bizarre. It was the dislocated shoulder bit that got me.
Yeah, sick bags were needed at the ready. But it was all in the name of cabaret at its finest, so we had lots of fun.
We did, yes.
This week it's not just Jayne and I as Dream Girls, because we have got our lovely friend Liz Reed with us. Hello there, Liz.
Hello, good morning.
So if Liz is here, you know she's either going to do a trip report from one of her many travels to Disney, or we're going to talk Disneyland Paris. So we're going to talk Disneyland Paris, aren't we, Liz?
Whoop whoop, yes.
And I know since we last spoke, you've had a couple of trips.
I went in January twice. I think I did speak to you since then. I'm not sure. I went in January twice, and I think I spoke to you about Pirates and Princesses season, which it was. And my next trip is in a couple of weeks.
Very exciting. And I know last time we were talking about the breakfast at Auberge de Cendrillon, and that's now up and running.
It is, yeah. I haven't personally tried it. I'm not sure whether I will at the price because it's €49 for an adult. But I have had some trip reports from people, that have done the Princess Breakfast. So we know a bit more about it now.
Okay. And I suppose if you want to get 3 princesses out of the park really quickly and have a very high-end breakfast, it might be something you might want to consider.
Oh, definitely. Also, it's a way people can try Auberge de Cendrillon because it's a really lovely restaurant, but it has a set menu. So a lot of people are put off by the fact that they don't like the look of the food for lunch or dinner. So breakfast is kind of like a way they can try it if they didn't want to waste the money on the food for dinner.
Perfect. Well, on today's show, the trio of us are going to hopefully demystify Disneyland Paris with regards to the hotels and with regards to the dining plan that they offer, because it's very different to the dining plan that's offered over in Walt Disney World. And Liz has virtually stayed everywhere, and I know Jayne stayed in quite a few of the Disney hotels. I've done 1 or 2, so I'm hoping between the lot of us we've got some really interesting perspectives on the hotels. Girls, are we ready?
Absolutely.
Ready.
Fantastic stuff. So I'm going to start at the top end, the creme de la creme, the typically most expensive and closest to the park, and that's the Disneyland Hotel. Jayne, have you managed to squeeze in there?
Surprisingly not, Michelle, no.
No.
I've been in the hotel, obviously, and had a little peekaboo, but not to stay there, no. And my only experience was I did have a friend who stayed there, and we are going back a couple of years, and he did comment that he felt it was a little bit tired looking.
Ooh. Well, let's pass the mantle over to our lovely Liz, because I know she's recently stayed there.
I have. It was kind of a bucket list. I wanted to try to stay there, and I managed to get a fairly good deal with my annual pass discount. So I stayed there for 2 nights in January. Bit cheaper in January because it's off peak, but it ended up being a pretty good time to go because it was Pirates and Princess season and Legends of the Force season, so 2 seasons. And we stayed in a standard room at the Disneyland Hotel. So you can have a suite if you've got loads of money, and you can stay at Castle Club level, which would mean that you've got access to the Castle Club Lounge, which means you have breakfast in there with characters that come around. And you can also access the lounge for snacks and drinks, and you can watch illuminations from the lounge, and they pipe the music in, which is another bucket list thing of mine. I haven't got to do that yet, but I just stayed in a standard room just to see what it was like, basically.
I must admit, I'm looking at the pictures now for the Sleeping Beauty suite, which is the presidential suite. It reminds me quite a lot of how can I put it? Basically a French chateau, to be honest, rather than it being totally in your face Sleeping Beauty, because I can see these little nods to the movie with like pictures of spinning wheels. Itself just it doesn't give me the impression of the highly themed rooms that you get, say, over at Tokyo.
No, well, I think the Disneyland Hotel, it tries to be a lot of different things. So I'm hoping they'll make it a bit more of one coherent theme maybe when they do an overhaul. They're going to do an overhaul in a couple of years and completely re-theme it and refurb it. But at the moment, so we were in a standard room. So on the headboards, we had paintings of Disneyland Castle, Sleeping Beauty's castle. Around the room, we had things to do with Peter Pan, like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell painted on the cabinet where the television was and things. And then in the bathroom, we had a kind of Fantasia theme going on with the dancing hippos on the tiles. It wasn't like the room was any one thing theme-wise. Also, it has a Victorian theme to the whole hotel. So the furniture, the decor, the costumes, I would say, that the cast members wear are Victorian. I actually feel a bit sorry for the cast members because the men, they have to wear these pantaloons, like these sort of +4 things you'd wear on the golf course maybe 50 years ago. And the women cast members have to wear a kind of mob cap and pinny. And I don't know. I didn't like it all that much, the uniforms they have to wear, because it almost makes it seem like they're your servants. I didn't really like that. I feel a bit uncomfortable. They look like they're dressed as servants, I think. Basically, yeah, it's got a Victorian theme. It's very beautiful. It's very grand. But it's also been there for 27 years and things are looking a little bit shabby and tatty and like they could do with a refurb, basically.
But literally, it's as you go to the park, it is so close. Literally, you can go nip in and out of the park, go up to your room, but you don't have to stay there to use the facilities. You can go and enjoy the lounge, you can go to one of the restaurants. That's
true, and I had done all that stuff before, but in order to make the most out of the fact that I'd paid to stay there, I did use the swimming pool. The swimming pool goes with the spa in the Disneyland Hotel, and it's not a massive swimming pool, but it's a really nice one with a really big jacuzzi. So I made sure I used that. That's one thing you can't do. And I saw while I was down there the spa, which is lovely. You can have spa treatments, but you don't have to be staying at the hotel to use the spa treatments. There's also a games room. I think it's called the Mad Hatter's Arcade with a few games machines in and things. Again, I'm not sure you have to stay at the hotel to even use that, so I might pop back and try that another time. And then there's this kind of kids club thing called Minnie's Club, I think, with toys. It looks like a little preschool sort of setup, and they do activities and that for kids. I'm not sure whether you can leave your kids there without being there with them. I think you possibly can on a couple of sessions, but that's there as well, like Minnie's Club, and that was quite nice. It had things like a giant Duffy bear in there, but mainly toys for little kids, I'd say, preschool sort of age.
Okay.
So I hadn't seen any of that before when I wasn't a guest. But as you say, the main advantage of staying at the Disneyland Hotel is that you are classed as being in the park. You're basically in the park. So at night you can look out of your window, depending where it is, and you can see them washing down the floors of the pavements of the Fantasia Gardens, and see trucks going in and out of the park, the maintenance things, if you want to. So it's kind of like seeing a little bit backstage almost, because they do so much maintenance and cleaning and things at night. You can actually stand outside the hotel and watch them if you want. That's a little bit interesting. And you don't have to keep going in and out of the security points. That's a bit of a luxury. Not that it takes ages usually, but it's one thing you don't have to do. You can just pop backwards and forwards to the hotel without having to go through security because you're classed as being inside the park. So that was a big advantage.
Can I also just say, before we go any further, while you've mentioned the word security, when you go to any Disneyland hotel, you and your luggage are checked. Your luggage goes through an X-ray machine and you walk through like an airport scanner. They are very, very keen on the security, aren't they, Liz?
They are, and I always feel really safe. And I would actually say that that's one of the main advantages of staying at a hotel on the Disneyland Resort, is that the safety and security is really good. So you're going to feel safer there knowing that everybody's been through security at the hotel, security when they came on the resort, and they have security all over the place, visible and not visible, like undercover. That's one of their top things, security.
And I know from my past trips I've been very fortunate enough to eat at Inventions, which is a fantastic buffet. Sunday they have different themes of characters, and it is such a sensational experience to go if you are a character fan and the theme is something that meets with you, and the food is quite divine, isn't it?
But yeah, that's the restaurant inside the Disneyland Hotel. If you eat there for lunch or dinner, there's always characters and they spend loads of time with you. It's absolutely beautiful, views over the park. Sunday lunchtime, they have this thing called brunch. It will always be to a theme. They've now changed it so you can't find out the theme until you turn up, because they found too many people were cancelling it when they didn't like the theme. But the price has really gone up now. It's €99 for an adult.
Ooh.
Yes, for brunch.
Wow, because last time I went, I think it was 69, and that was a bit...
It was 79, and then it jumped up to 99. So whereas I used to go if I was there on a Sunday, I've been to it sort of 4 or 5 times. Now I'm thinking, €99. I'm not so sure. The last one I went to was at Christmas. We had a Christmas theme. So there was Father Christmas, there was Jingle Elf, there was all the Disney characters dressed up in Christmas outfits. It was really amazing. And last Sunday, the one just gone, it was Chinese New Year. Weirdly, because it was about 2 weeks too late for Chinese New Year, but they had Mulan dressed as Ping, as in the warrior Ping, and Mushu, and Mickey and Minnie dressed in Oriental Emperor, Empress outfits and things like that. So that is good if you want to spend €99 adult, and I think it's 45 child on brunch.
Wow. Okay.
Not a cheap affair.
Nope, not cheap.
Okay, the next one is Disney's Hotel New York, which is currently being rethemed to the theming of Marvel.
It is. Have you two stayed there? Have you stayed at the Hotel New York?
I haven't, no.
I've stayed there once, and it was in need of refurbishment, in my opinion, but another hotel that is a really convenient location. About 10 minutes to get to the park. You don't even need to take a bus, even though they offer one.
That's true. I only discovered the Hotel New York last year or the year before, so I ended up staying there 3 times in the end. I absolutely loved it. I wished I'd discovered it sooner. Yeah, it was a bit jaded, looking like it needed a paint job, but also because it had a kind of 1920s Art Deco thing going on with the New York theme, it sort of seemed to get away with it somehow. The fact that it was a bit tatty seemed like it fitted with the Art Deco theming. And that hotel has really big rooms as well. I'm not sure the rooms are going to be as big after the refurb. Just lovely New York theme. And like you say, a very short walk. You're practically in the Disney Village. You come out of the hotel, take a few steps and you're in the Disney Village, and then 5-minute walk and you're at either of the parks. So that was a good one, but it is having a complete refurb. It'll be back. They're saying summer 2019 it'll be back, themed as the Hotel New York Marvel superheroes. And it should look pretty completely and utterly different on the inside, maybe not so much the outside. Marvel fans are going to love that. And I can see them having things like a Comic-Con there. That would be amazing for those sort of comic fans. And people will come there that like Marvel. Me, I like Marvel, but I don't love it. But all those people that are Marvel fans are going to want to stay there. It'll be like ka-ching, I'm sure, for Disney.
And it's nice that they've got, and I don't want to be sounding quite sexist here, but they've got the very princess-heavy type of availability, like you said, with the princess rooms at Disneyland Hotel. They've got the Cars Landy thing, and now they're going to have this art of Marvel, so they're really appealing to the boy male market as well as the girls who like it. I don't want to come across as being sexist, but yeah.
I agree. There's dads that will shell out to stay there because they love Marvel, whereas normally they'll be like, how much? They'll probably be just willing to pay anything to stay in the Marvel hotel.
Yeah.
And like you say, sometimes little boys are pretty typical and they like things like Star Wars and Marvel, not so much the princesses. So something for everyone, really. Should be really good.
Newport Bay, Jayne, have you stayed there?
I haven't, no. Last time we were at Disneyland Paris, it was under renovation.
Ooh, so I'm going to go now to Liz and see what she's got to say about it.
Of course I've stayed at Newport Bay. I actually stayed there quite a few years ago, like 6 years ago for the first time, when it was towards the end of the refurb. They didn't actually close it as such during the refurb, but I went there when it was almost finished. So I think the swimming pool was shut, being refurbished, and not all of it was done. But it was pretty lovely. But things like reception weren't finished. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I've stayed there probably 3 or 4 times since then. And I think Newport Bay is an amazing hotel to stay at in the summer because it's themed out like a cruise ship. It's got that kind of nautical sailor feel to it, very luxurious. And very clean colours, blue and white, very summery and light. And it has this amazing pool with a big ship in the middle of it, which you can use to sort of spectate. If people are swimming and you're not swimming, you go on the ship and you can kind of watch your friends and family swimming, and the ship is like a kind of play area as well with things to play on it. Then it leads to the outside and it has a massive outdoor pool as well with sand loungers around. And in the summer it was so nice in July to go back to Newport Bay and just jump into the outdoor pool and enjoy it. That's a hotel I'd say comes into its own for summer, definitely.
Fab, about 15-minute walk to the park as well, so you can use the shuttle if you wish, if you don't fancy the walk around the lake.
I would say the shuttle from Newport Bay to the park takes longer than walking. So I always say to people, don't even bother with the shuttle. So by the time you've waited for the shuttle and got the shuttle, you could have walked there and back, I reckon. Because if you just exit Newport Bay at the back, down the sort of grand staircase or down the lift, you exit it at the back, which is where the lake is. You just walk around the lake a little bit. There's a security point there that takes you along the side of the Earl of Sandwich. And then you're practically there. You're in Disney Village. Really short walk. That's a good one.
Fab top tip. Let's move on to Sequoia Lodge. And I'm going to go to Jayne because I know you've been there.
Yeah, definitely. We have stayed here 3 times, I think, now. I kind of like it because from our monetary point of view, it's within our budget of going more towards the top end, if you want to put it that way. I also think it's great because it's very similar to Newport Bay in that the location to getting into the park and the village is very close. Again, I don't know why people bother with the shuttle. Just use your legs and walk a little bit. It's fine. It won't hurt you. You're going to be on your feet the rest of the day anyway, so you might as well start that way. But yeah, so we've had some lovely stays there. It was very cold last time we stayed there. Very cold, because I remember walking out one morning and the river was actually frozen over. That's how cold it was when we were there last. So I'd like to go again, but in the nice warm sunshine, please. But no, I love this Sequoia. I think it's really cool. And the only disappointing thing was because it was so cold, we did go and is it the Red Creek Bar? I've probably got the name wrong. Where they've got the big open fire. We thought, oh yeah, after day at the park, we'll go and sit in front of the fire and it'll be all nice and cosy. And everybody had exactly the same idea, and you could not move for the love of God in this bar. So we never got to sit next to the open. I got all this romantic idea in my head, you see, just sitting there, sipping a nice glass of wine in front of the fire. Nah, it didn't happen. But lovely hotel, I do like it.
It does remind me a great deal of Wilderness Lodge from Walt Disney World. It's got that vibe and the Grand Californian feeling coming across to me. Yeah,
definitely. It's kind of all nice and cosy. And again, I don't know when it was last refurbed. Liz, I don't know if you'll probably know better than I do, because I know last time we were there, it was a few years ago. So
at least 8 or so years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
One thing I just remembered, because you said it was more of a high-end hotel, is that at Disneyland Paris they grade the hotels according to keys. So instead of saying it's 5-star, they'll say it's 5 keys. So the Disneyland hotel that we spoke about first, the Big Pink Hotel, that's a 5 keys hotel. Newport Bay and Hotel New York are 4 keys hotels. Sequoia Lodge is 3 keys level. Then Cheyenne and Santa Fe and Davy Crockett are 2 keys. So that just gives you an idea. So you'll pay according to the level you picked. And Sequoia is kind of a bit more upmarket, but not the top end. It's kind of a good mid-range hotel, which is really close to the facilities. And like you say, it has the real wood fires in the bar area, which is called the Redwood Bar. And a top tip about Sequoia Lodges, they do these amazing glowtinis only at the Redwood Bar called a woodcutter. It's not on the menu, but the woodcutter is a cocktail that is a bit like drinking out of a vase. I can only describe it as a massive vase. You might put a bunch of flowers in. I've got a photo somewhere. I'll have to send it to Michelle. Think of a normal glowtini and then times that glass by probably 5. That's how big it is. I shared one with my friend, but another friend had one to herself. In fact, I think she had 2 to herself. And she decided it was better value than a normal glowtini because they're about $14.99. And she thought that was better value, but it's got to have half a bottle of vodka in it. God knows what's in it. I'm not even sure. But a woodcutter is huge. So, if you want to go for it, you can have one of them at Sequoia Lodge, and only at Sequoia Lodge.
That'll go on my bucket list then.
Bucket list, yep. I'll send Michelle a photo. Maybe she can put it in the show notes or something.
Fab.
Also, Sequoia Lodge, wherever you go, you'll hear birds tweeting in the trees. And that's quite nice. As you come back to the hotel, you hear the bird song in the trees. Not going to say whether it's real birds tweeting or it's coming out of speakers, but it's quite nice. You can hear the bird song. It's quite nice. And when you're staying in your room, it's a bit like you're staying in a lodge in the woods. That's obviously the feeling of it, like you're in a kind of log cabin in the woods. And I like Sequoia. I find it cosy and homely and near to everything. I do like the bar area. It's a shame when you went it was so crowded, but probably because it was so cold, everybody thought of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I've spent time in that bar area in kind of early evening or even in the morning, and then you can have it to yourself. But obviously, late evening on a freezing night, everyone's going to go down there.
Yeah, it's a very relaxing resort, I find. I think because it's so wooded, when you go back after a busy day in the park, you do kind of, like you said, that birdsong element, it kind of removes you from the hustle and bustle that you've just experienced,
It does. I'd say, it's a little oasis away from kind of the plastic brightness of Disney. Most places in Disney are bright, reds and blues and yellows and bright colours everywhere, which is nice and we like it. But you get back to Sequoia and it's just big green trees and stonework and everything wooden and birds tweeting. So it's a lovely little retreat, a little relaxing from the parks.
So let's move to the complete opposite now, and this is Disney's Hotel Cheyenne, where it's old-time Wild West escapism. And I've never actually stayed at this one. It's a little bit further out, at about 20 minutes, I believe. And you can get the bus, the little shuttle to get you there. I don't know. Liz, have you stayed there?
I have stayed there. Of course I've stayed at all of them actually, except for the ranch, Davy Crockett's ranch. But yeah, I've stayed at Cheyenne quite a few times, and I've vlogged Cheyenne quite a few times on my YouTube channel. And my friends Kyle and Mitchell actually call me Queen of the Cheyenne because they like my Cheyenne vlogs. But basically, it's had a refurb a few years ago. I didn't stay there before the refurb, but now the rooms are themed out to Toy Story. The whole of the hotel is like a Wild West cowboy village, like something from a film set if you were watching an old cowboy movie. So each accommodation block is separate. So they're called things like Wyatt Earp and Annie Oakley and things like that. That'll be your accommodation. And they're all themed out well, like the Wild West. And then when you get in your room, you have a Toy Story border around with Woody and Jessie and Bullseye. And the curtains are like Toy Story, and the bathroom and just the whole theming. So if you love Toy Story, that's a good one. But I love anything cowboy. Also, they recently ripped out the arcade room at Cheyenne and replaced it with a Starbucks. It's like the best thing ever because it's a cowboy-themed Starbucks. So everything has kind of like cow print and it's cowboyish in there. So quite an unusual Starbucks. But it means in the morning you can go and grab your Starbucks on your way to the park, or when you come back, grab a Starbucks, have breakfast there, something like that. So that's a good new addition.
Am I right in thinking that there's 2 Starbucks? There's one in Disney Village and that one, there's not actually Starbucks in the parks yet?
There's 3 Starbucks. There's one at Hotel Santa Fe, one at Cheyenne, and one in the Disney Village. The Disney Village one is the biggest, and they sell the mugs that you like to collect. There's a Disneyland Park mug, and there's a Walt Disney Studios mug. They sell them at that one in the Disney Village. But yeah, total of 3, but none in the parks. We're not very keen on having them in the park. I'm sure we'd put up with it if it was there, but there was a big outcry, people not really wanting a Starbucks on Main Street, and there isn't one yet.
That's what Walt Disney World fans and Disneylanders were like. They were saying, no, but do you know what? The queues tell a different story.
I'm sure if they build it, we'll all use it. But the Disney Village isn't that far from the main park, and you can get the Starbucks there. And like I say, there's a nice one at Cheyenne. Also, what's quite cute in the summer at the Hotel Cheyenne through some of July and I think August, through the warmer weather anyway, they have pony rides. So pay a few euros, I think 3, 4 euros something, and your child can have a pony ride up and down the grounds outside. That's quite nice at Hotel Cheyenne. And sometimes they also have a barbecue throughout August in the evening, so you can pay some money for your dinner and have it as a barbecue outside at Cheyenne. And they usually have Chip and Dale dressed up in their little cowboy outfits, and sometimes Pluto. So sometimes characters come to that as well, but that's like peak summer at Cheyenne. So that's another little nice touch. It's got a nice shop. It's got a good restaurant called the Chuck Wagon. It's got a bar called the Red Garter Saloon, which I can only describe the decor as looking like, I would say, a tart's boudoir. It's a bit like that. It's kind of all red velvety, but in the style of the old Wild West. But good tip as well, it's got the cheapest drinks of any bar, really. Cheyenne bar, the Red Garter Saloon. So your glowtinis are only going to be $12.99 there. So that, Santa Fe and the sports bar have the cheapest drinks. The drinks are the same wherever you have them, but if you're in a more low-end location, the drinks are cheaper. Another top tip for you.
Thank you for that. Let's hop now to the Disney's Hotel Santa Fe. I've not stayed there. Jayne?
No, well, we've stayed at the Cheyenne, interestingly, a fair few times, but before the refurb. So I've just been looking at the photos. I'm quite intrigued now. Santa Fe, I've looked at, but no, I've always, sounds daft, out of the 2 of the Santa Fe and Cheyenne, because obviously they're both the 2 Keys hotels, the Cheyenne's always looked better themed than the Santa Fe, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know what you think to that, Liz.
I agree, actually. They are classed as the same level, and sometimes the Cheyenne costs a little bit more. And I think it's actually worth a little bit more myself. But weirdly, it can sometimes also cost a little bit less. So if you're not sure which economy hotel you want, check the prices, because sometimes you can even get Cheyenne for less. And I think it's because everybody goes to book the Santa Fe because they assume it's the cheapest. And it might not be, so they might have more availability at Cheyenne and put the price down. But basically, yeah, I would say, especially since the refurb, Hotel Cheyenne has got nicer beds, it's got more power points, it's got USB points, it's got English power sockets, it's got more power sockets in that respect. It's got nice ceiling fans, you can control your own temperature. If you go to the Hotel Santa Fe in summer, you're going to boil. It's stuffy and boiling. There's no fan in the room, really, and you can't control the temperature. So I'd say if you're going in the summer, pick Cheyenne as well.
Top tip there. So let's move away now from the Disney hotels per se to what they class as the Disney Nature, and this is the Davy Crockett Ranch and the Le Village Nature Paris.
Well said.
I know. And these two, incidentally, there's no shuttle service for the Davy Crockett Ranch, so you have to really stay there by car because you can't walk. The other one, there is a public paying shuttle, which takes about 25 minutes. I'm going to have to pass over to you, Liz.
Okay, so Villages Nature is basically like a Centre Parks. To begin with, it wasn't owned by Disney, but now Disney own it. So it's classed as one of the Disney resorts. It has the huge swimming pool, indoor, outdoor area. I haven't stayed there, by the way, but I've heard about it, watched vlogs and things. Has the huge swimming pool area that you'd expect, kind of outdoor play areas, I think animals, gardens, things like that. And you can stay in a little apartment or a little lodge type thing. I've heard mixed reviews about the accommodation. I think it's a bit hit and miss. Some people get really good accommodation at Villages Nature, and some people have said their accommodation's been awful. So even though it's quite new, I don't think it's guaranteed you're going to get great accommodation there. You do need to either drive out to Villages Nature or get this paid shuttle bus. I think it's €2 or €3 backwards and forwards. It's right next door to Davy Crockett's Ranch, which you do need a car for because there's no shuttle from Davy Crockett's Ranch. I do want to stay at Davy Crockett's Ranch. It looks really a lot like Fort Wilderness Campground to me in the pictures that I've seen and the vlogs that I've watched. So at Davy Crockett's Ranch, you're going to get a little cabin, which I think has usually got 2 bedrooms and a lounge, kitchen, bathroom, sometimes 2 bathrooms, depending which size one you get. And it has a big swimming pool, big indoor swimming pool. Obviously, it's got its shop. You can do things like archery there. It's got kids' play areas, outside playgrounds. And people like Davy Crockett's Ranch because you can drive back there in the evening and then you can have a barbecue because your cabin will come with a barbecue area. You've got a little balcony kind of thing not balcony, don't know what you call it, on your log cabin. You've got seats there like a picnic table. So it can be a bit more of a chilled holiday than just doing Disney Park from open to close, collapsing at your hotel and doing the same thing the next day. You can have a kind of chilled out camping holiday. And when the kids have gone to bed, maybe you can get out your glass of wine and carry on with your barbecue, and it's a bit more relaxing. That's what I've heard.
Sounds perfect to me, but for me, I don't know, it's a little bit too excluded for me because if I don't take a car, which I don't when I go to Paris, it's really challenging to have to mess around with paying for a shuttle and things like that.
I agree, and that's what's put me off going. I've never driven to Disney. If I ever do drive, I probably will stay at Davy Crockett's just to try it because I want to try it. But on the other hand, say there's 4 of you, say 4 adults of you go and you stay there, that means you've all got to go at the same time in the morning and you've all got to come back at the same time in the evening because you're all sharing a car. So at least if you're staying at a Disney hotel, you're not far away, you want to pop back in the afternoon for an hour or 2 and the others don't, you've kind of got that freedom. That's one thing that puts me off Davy Crockett Ranch, really, is that everybody's got to go at the same time and everybody's really got to come back at the same time. It does include your car parking at the Disney resort, so at Disney Park, so you don't have to worry about paying for parking, but there is that aspect of all having to come and go at the same time. So if somebody's tired, they can't just leave early and go back to the hotel, something like that. I would say that's what I think anyway.
Okay, thank you for all of that, Liz. I suppose for a lot of people, a plus point of staying in one of these Disney hotels is you can get an annual pass discount if you've got an annual pass, or you can get a package and you're able to avail yourself of a Disney dining plan. Can you just quickly demystify that a little bit for us?
Okay, so instead of Disney dining plan, it's called half board or full board. And I don't think Americans have that concept of half board or full board. So basically, half board means you get breakfast and one main.
Mm-hmm.
That's half board. Full board would mean you've got breakfast and two main meals. So breakfast, lunch and dinner. So that's a bit like all inclusive. Full board at Disneyland Paris is more food than you can shake a stick at. I've never met anyone that's managed to eat all the food. So I'd say to people, don't bother with full board unless, you know, you're really eating for the Olympics, because you're going to spend so much time in the day eating, and I doubt you'll be able to eat that much food anyway, that you'd have to ask yourself, do I really want to spend 4 hours of the day in restaurants? And am I really going to eat that much food? So half board's usually the way to go.
And also the Disney hotels in France, it's different. When you go to Walt Disney World, you typically can be in and out within an hour easily to eat your meal, but it's not like that in France.
No, French people take their eating very seriously. You could probably be a bit quicker if you pick buffet restaurants at Disneyland Paris. But if it's a sit-down restaurant, you might as well think you're going to be there hour and a half, 2 hours, because they will take time to serve you and you're supposed to talk and enjoy it and take your time, and it's an experience. It's going to change soon, but at the moment, sometimes you get free half board with your package, with your hotel package at Disneyland Paris. Free half board at the moment means you have something really annoying called a counter service breakfast instead of breakfast at the hotel. Whereas if you pay for your half board, you have the hotel breakfast included. But thankfully that's all changing after the 1st of April. Whether you get free half board or pay for your half board, it's going to include the hotel breakfast. Counter service is when you have to go to a cafe or go to your hotel bar and get a kind of bag breakfast. So it's got in it a croissant, a bread roll, a bottle of orange juice, and you can have a hot drink. And you kind of take it and go, or take it and sit in the cafe. That's what you get at the moment with free half board, but all changing soon. So does that explain it?
Yeah, that sounds good. And it doesn't really matter on what the cost of the meal's going to be. You've just got this voucher and you can use it. Is that right?
Well, kind of. Your half board, if it's a free half board, it goes with the level of your hotel. So you've got standard half board plus, and premium half board. So that is a bit, I don't know, that's kind of similar to Walt Disney World, I think. But the good thing about Paris is, even if you're on standard half board, which is the cheapest, lowest level, you can top up. So if you want to have an expensive character dining meal, you can give them your standard voucher and pay the difference. Whereas at Walt Disney World, I think you're stuck with the level voucher that you've got on your dining. Don't think they allow topping up. So that's one quite good thing about Paris. So if you're staying at Santa Fe or Cheyenne, you have standard. If you're staying at Sequoia or Newport Bay or Hotel New York, you'd get plus. And if you're staying at the Disneyland Hotel, you get premium. Or you can buy any level one you want, whatever hotel you're at. So even if you're at Santa Fe, you can buy a premium dining plan if you want. And that would mean that you can either have breakfast at your hotel, or you can have a character breakfast at Plaza Gardens included. You can have your dinner pretty much anywhere you want. So premium level includes things like Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show, Auberge de Cendrillon, Inventions Restaurant. All those high-end character places are included on premium.
Now that sounds a lot clearer to me. I know that with Walt Disney World, they just distinguish between the dining plan where you have a table service meal or a counter service meal, and dependent on the plan depends on the quantity of each that you get. And I know the one that I've got this year is a new one, particularly for the British market, where you get a breakfast every day. But I don't think they've set it up
Sounds good.
as it should be, because this credit, I believe, can be any counter service. So we all know breakfasts work out a little bit cheaper. So I'm waiting to see what happens, because I believe this plan comes into effect in April. So that'll be interesting to find out.
Oh, you can report back. But I have sometimes used the meal plan at Disneyland Paris, sometimes haven't. one advantage of buying it is that it's a bit like being all inclusive. You then don't have to take loads of spending money with you to pay for your meals, because it ain't cheap eating at Disneyland Paris. I think it's quite expensive. If that's a family, you're going to need to take a couple of grand with you to pay for meals every day. And if you've got the advantage of having either a free meal plan or you've paid for a meal plan, at least that takes the stress out of it. You know, you've all got your breakfast and your dinner every day covered. You don't have to tip at Paris because the tip's included in the price that the restaurant service is included. So if you're a family and you've got your dining plan, that's a big stress out of the way. Even if you waste all your money on Mickey souvenirs, you know you can eat. So that's an advantage of it, I would say.
But if you don't have the dining plan, and I know when you've been with the family, Jayne, you've utilised eateries down in the Disney Village because it's easy to pop in and out of the park.
Well, I must admit, yeah, we've always kind of fallen back and gone to good old Earl of Sandwich as our safety get out of jail free card, because we know what we're going to get. I think having stuck to counter service, for want of a better phrase, in DLP, I've always struggled in that we kind of hit in the same old. So even though you may go to a different location, you're not getting a vast amount of menu choice. So we've kind of done a little bit in the parks, and then when we've got bored of that, we've then gone out and gone to good old Earl of Sandwich.
You can eat cheaply at Disneyland Paris, but at the end of the day, it is Paris and it is Disney, so it's not going to be that cheap. But if you want to eat cheaply, there's something in Disney Village called New York Sandwiches next to the sports bar. They sell things like soup, pizza, things like that. That's quite reasonable. And by reasonable, I would say maybe about €15 for an adult meal. At the Earl of Sandwich in the evening, they do pizza meals, pasta meals, and even ribs meals in the evening. So you could get a meal in the evening for about €12, so a drink and a meal at Earl of Sandwich. Counter service in the park's more like €17 for an adult meal, and for that you'd get a starter or a side, something like garlic bread, a main meal, so something like a pizza or burger and chips, and a pudding, which would either be a fruit pot, which is like tinned fruit in a pot, or an ice cream, something like that. That would be eating cheaply. Now, if you're talking about a character meal, that's €65 for an adult and 38 for a child to eat somewhere like Cafe Mickey or Inventions for a character meal. And then a not character meal, say you ate dinner at Newport Bay Hotel in Cape Cod, I think that's about €36 for an adult and about €18 for a child, and that's an all-you-can-eat, really luxurious, really nice buffet, but without characters. So that's the sort of prices you're looking at to eat there, really. You know, it's like anywhere you pay your money, takes your choice. You can do it cheaply. You could eat at McDonald's. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. Or you can go all the way and spend hundreds and hundreds of euros on your food.
And I think we'll look into this at a later date on the show and look at some of the Disneyland Paris eateries, because there are such a wide range and some are better than others. So I think we'll save that one. And I just want to bring up another way that if you're wanting to go to Disneyland Paris and you are wanting to save some money, you can stay in other hotels, and Disney have their hotels, and then they have Disney Good Neighbour hotels, and you don't necessarily have to book these via Disney. You can book them via a package, say with Expedia or going to the hotel direct, but they've got this connection to Disney with them. These are rated in a star rating, and I've stayed at a couple of them. I've stayed at a 3-star, which is the Kyriad, and I've also stayed with the beautiful Jayne over at the Vienna House Dream Castle, which is a 4-star. All of these have a shuttle, which, to be honest, it takes 10 minutes and it's so convenient. You just walk out of the park, past the train station, there's a massive bus station, it's clearly labelled, you get on the shuttles, and they're the same shuttles that would take you to the Disney hotels. So if you're wanting to save some money, Dream Castle, apart from its incredibly weird, freaky theming, the rooms were very, very clean, very, very comfortable. The Kyriad is a little bit more basic. It is a 3-star. It's not as luxurious. But again, if you're wanting to get to Disneyland Paris and just view it as a place to put your head, these are all good ways. Any top tips from you over there, Jayne?
Well, so I've only stayed at the Dream Castle with you, Michelle, and I agree. It was the entrance reception area was a little bit weird. It was a bit like, what have we walked into here? Because the theming left something to be desired. But having said that, once we got into the room was absolutely brilliant. It was really comfy. It was a good sized room, and like you said, Michelle, it was lovely and clean and everything. My only slight gripe was the shuttles coming back. If you're there at the end of the day, it is a bit of a free for all, and you kind of have to be determined to get on the shuttle when you want to get on the shuttle. Is all I will say. I will leave it at that. And
the breakfast. The breakfast was a sight to be. Very nice complimentary continental breakfast with some hot items. But watching the number of people making up their packed lunches under the table was highly amusing when bread rolls kept rolling out from underneath the tablecloths. I found that hysterical.
Yeah, I have to say I'd experienced that at Hotel Cheyenne a lot of years ago at the buffet breakfast when they did the breakfast included back then. So and that was exactly the same. So I don't think it's particularly there to the partner hotels. I think it's just one of those things. If you're going to have a buffet breakfast and you're going to put bread rolls out, people are going to use the nunkum and, do that sort of thing. Not something I would do, but hey, everybody's to their own and all that.
Have you managed to stay at any of these, Liz?
The only partner hotel I've stayed at is called the Radisson Blue, or Radisson Bleu, if you want to sound French. That is a beautiful, I would say, 4-star hotel. Also has a free shuttle bus to Disney, but the shuttle bus is a bit harder to find because it goes from the car park. The car park at Disneyland Paris has a place in it where coaches drop people off, and that's where the shuttle to the Radisson Blue goes. So that can be a bit more tricky to find the first time when you need to find it. Once you've done that, it's easy. And the Radisson Blue, I would say, is like staying in a proper French hotel. It's not Disney themed, but it looks very French. It has beautiful grounds. It has a golf course. It has a kids' playground outside. It has nice walks around the grounds. Has a beautiful pool inside and a beautiful sauna inside and a really lovely breakfast. One time I booked with hotels.com and the breakfast was included, so I had it at Radisson Blue, and probably the best breakfast I've ever had because they did like omelettes cooked to order, every type of fresh food you can think of. Really nice. And the rooms are massive and they have a fridge in and all the tea and coffee making facilities. So Radisson Blue is a really nice one. And I've never booked it through Disney, but I booked it on hotels.com. And I would say I would expect to pay about £110 a night for a room there. So that's pretty good value.
I will share my story of staying completely off-site with you. This was my first trip to Disneyland Paris with Emily Rawlins. And we stayed at a place called Bussy Saint Georges. And basically it entailed getting a train to the train station in the Disney Village, but going back, and obviously there in the morning, we had a 10 to 15 minute walk down a dual carriageway to this hotel. It was incredibly basic, very, very basic, just bunk bed in the room, basic. You know, you're looking at €30 a night. It was nothing.
Yes.
So if you really, really want to get some piece of the magic and are a little bit adventurous and don't mind the challenge of navigating down by the side of a dual carriageway, you can get there and you can save some money.
I've got a better one than that for you, off-site, and that is the Kyriad, another Kyriad, at Torcy. So Torcy's 3 stops away on the RER train, so it costs about €3.60 each way on the RER. And the Kyriad at Torcy is a very short walk from the RER station. You just walk along a path, cross over a zebra crossing, and you're there. So that is an easy walk. And also the Kyriad at Torcy is next to a shopping centre, so you can go in there and shop or go in there and eat, pick up some supplies. And the room I stayed in with 2 other people was quite weird because it had 3 single beds in it, so we were a bit like Goldilocks with our single beds, single beds, and it cost €58 a night. So €58 between 3 of us was, like you say, nothing. And I would say it was like a really cheap tatty travel lodge in need of a refurb. But who cares? Because we just got back there late at night, crashed, slept, got up in the morning, had a shower, went off to the park. So some people who want to stay at somewhere where they can leave their car free, they can either drive into Disneyland Paris or get the RER in. And you can also visit Paris itself, like the Eiffel Tower, all that from there. So if you just want a really cheap base, that's quite a good one as well.
That's top information there, my lovely. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting about the hotels in Disneyland Paris. We're going to do more of this about Paris, and Lizzie's going to report back after her next trip. I am so excited. I wish I was coming with you, smuggled into your suitcase. I'm sure Jayne would like that as well, wouldn't you, lovely?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I don't take up much room, honest.
I'm just having one night at Sequoia Lodge, but I've got the whole room to myself and 2 double beds, so jump in quick if you want to come.
Right, I'm looking up the flight details now. Right, well, let's end up this podcast here and now. If you want to hear more from us and support us financially, you can always visit our Patreon site, patreon.com/Disney Dream Girls, and in return we give a range of different incentives to thank you for supporting us. You can also see more of us and our Disney loving life on Instagram, Diz Dream Girls, or Twitter, same @Diz Dream Girls. There's also our lovely Disney Dream Girls podcast family over on Facebook, where people are sharing their loves of Disney. We're doing a few competitions. We're also asking people at the moment to renew their iTunes reviews of us. In exchange, possibility might win some goodies from us as well. Lots of things happening, so do follow along, join in on the magic. Where can people find you, Liz, to get more of these vlogs that you do and all of the Disneyland Paris good stuff?
Well, I have a YouTube channel called Fairy Godmother, and you'll find lots of vlogs on there of the hotels, because whenever I stay at a new place, I always make a vlog of the room and the hotel and things like that. So there's quite a bit of that on my Fairy Godmother YouTube. I also have a group called Disneyland Paris Chat for Brits on Facebook, which we have about 27,000 people on there. We just chat about anything Disneyland Paris. And my run group, Run Disneyland Paris Fans, which is for anyone interested in the run weekend at Disneyland Paris. That's me.
And I can see us having a special show dedicated to top tips for runners, because I know there's a lot of people who listen that are planning to go out to that event, so we could maybe make the life a little bit easier on that front.
That's my favourite thing ever, Run Disney at Paris, so I'll be happy to chat about that.
That's fantastic. Well, let's wrap up the show. Firstly, goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And it's au revoir from me.